So I decided to do sort of like an instructional video on how to do Redwood competitively, and I think these tips and tricks might help. They're not exactly the right thing to do, they're just kind of what I do, and this might be more helpful if you drive a front-wheel drive than anything else. But yeah, I just want to share what I do with you. So here we go. When you take this corner, if you want to be competitive at least, you should be hitting it definitely beyond 50 miles per hour. You should be aiming for around 60 to 80, and I know that's a broad range, but always be trying to go quicker, meaning closer to 70 to 80. If you're between 70 and 80, you're quick enough. Just also notice that when you take it, or at least this is what happens to me, my steering wheel shoots to the left. So be prepared for that. And also, before you take it, angle the car, meaning go ahead and use up your extra space. Step to the left a little bit, touch the double yellow line, and then whip the steering wheel in. And like I said, expect the steering wheel to kick back to the left direction. Now, as you approach this part, you're going to be tempted to brake here, and you shouldn't. You should keep on going, and then brake late at this point. This is very important because a lot of people chicken out in this corner, as it seems that, they're running out of space to brake. But in reality, you can just give a hard tap to the brakes and then trail brake ever so slightly to cover this corner here. In fact, if you overdo it, since you're going uphill, you're going to lose a lot of speed, so you should feel comfortable here to brake late. And if you're feeling extra comfortable and you haven't picked up insane amounts of speed, you might not even have to brake at all. You might be able to get away with a slight tap of the brakes. So don't over justify braking in this corner. It's not as important as you think. Now, continuing on, it's important that you hug this corner and keep on hugging it. You can apex very early here and you'll be fine. Now, time for a public safety announcement. Watch out in this corner. It's a decreasing radius corner, and you gotta give it a little bit of respect. It's very dangerous, and I've seen people wipe there, which wasn't fun. But with that said, you don't need to go crazy on the braking, even at the point where I'm at. You can continue up a car length and then start braking. And of course, do not get too heavy on your brakes here, or you're going to lock up, or just, I guess, understeer. You might want to kind of brake hard for an initial second and then just feather off and try to kind of trail brake. It's just that you won't have too much time to do this, so it's going to be a kind of quick trail braking session, but enough to scrub off enough speed so that you can cover the corner. Now, when you get to this point, it's going to be a little bit challenging. You don't have too much room on your right. You don't have too much visibility on your right, so you can't kind of see how much radius you have. But it is a fairly sharp corner, and it still is uphill. So I'd say go into this one very confidently. And what I mean by that is go into this one with basically a full throttle, and then just let off the throttle enough to induce just a tiny amount of oversteer, which you might or might not get since you're going uphill. But definitely don't overbrake here, because you'll lose someone and it'll make a difference of lots of seconds if you overbrake this corner. Here, it's important to brake very hard in a straight line from where I'm at, beginning from where I'm at to the beginning of the apex there. So just brake really hard and then feather off and continue braking through this corner. This should be enough to take away most of your speed that you would have built in this tiny little straight segment and let you clear the corner. But make sure you brake at approximately this point. Don't get too hasty with your brakes, because it looks way scarier than it actually is. Do exactly the same thing here, but more of it. And I mean, when you brake here, you should brake after the bump, you should brake really hard, but you shouldn't be cruising from the point of your brake to the corner. It should be an immediate brake, and then either you're staying on your brakes or getting on the gas. So the moment you feel that you can get back on the gas in this corner, you get back on the gas. But then again, this needs trail braking, but this needs harder braking in approximately the same window of time that you had in the previous corner. But here you need to really commit on your brakes and almost go all the way straight down and basically press them fully. This is what I do to gain seconds here. Personally, this corner has never liked me, and I've never liked it. I've basically, right where that S2000 is, I've basically almost went off there multiple times. I don't know if it's my suspension necessarily, but I find that when you get to the bottom of this corner, you significantly lose traction. I don't quite get what it is. It might be the way the tires load, but just underdrive this corner. I always underdrive it, even when I'm doing, hot time lapse or whatever. Just pay attention to this corner. It's it looks friendly, but it's not. This is another important point. I never thought I'd be sharing this, but why not? I need you guys to get some, super good times on Redwood. It would make me very happy. So basically, this corner here, it's scary as you come into it. Most people get on the brakes, but you shouldn't. You should stay flat. You shouldn't even lift at all, as scary as it might be, because it's a very wide corner, and you're easily going to clear it, and you're going to be able to brake afterwards on the other side. So trust me, stay flat here and remind yourself to stay flat. You can really drop someone or gain a lot of time if you follow my advice here. Now, what I like to do with sweepers like this is throttle, basically get on the gas more than necessary to induce understeer. And the moment I feel that, let off the gas abruptly and tap the brakes. And that gives me a little bit of rotation, which lasts for a few seconds, maybe a second or whatnot. So tail gets a little loose for a second. I'll do this, 2 times approximately, as many times as I can to get more rotation. And a lot of people would argue that you don't even have to do this at all. Just drive at the limit of the road, of the corner. Whatever the corner allows, adhere to that and stick to it. But I'd say it's good because you get closer to understanding the car's full limit and full acceptance of the corner, and you get to improve your total speed. Plus, sometimes you'll just understeer, but the car will, clear the corner, and then you can, become quicker in these long corners overall, which is where most people, let off the gas. So it's a critical point. Now, this is a corner where you can have fun and, decrease your times by a lot because it's uphill, and so you should confidently go into it. But I should warn you that because it's a hilly, corner, when you reach the top point of it, the most elevated point of the corner, your rear and front will get loose. Usually your rear tires will get even lighter and off the ground, and you will slide. This is very beneficial for front wheel drives though, because it basically undoes the effects of understeer for this corner. So go in confidently. Yes, you'll slide a little bit, but it'll help you out a lot, trust me. Now, what would Takumi do with all this extra space to your right? Use it. Get as close to the dirt as you can, use this extra space, and sort of cut through this corner. Just be sure that you don't hit the dirt wall, but the closer you can get to that, the better you're going to be off at corner exit. So trust me, you can easily apex early on this corner. You don't have to go wide onto the left side of your lane. Just cut the corner to your right with a little bit of caution for that, that hill, and it should help out a lot. In this corner, right before you come up to it, basically where I'm at, and a little bit even farther down, you need to start braking hard in a straight line. You're going to have to really use your pads here. But after you brake hard in the line, as scary as it is, because sometimes we can carry a lot of speed after this straight, let off the brake and turn in, because if you don't, you're going to lock up and go straight into that fence. I've seen that happen. So brake hard for just a few seconds, turn in, and throttle all the way through. Now, I know that we're going pretty slow at this point because traffic's up ahead, but if you're coming in full throttle from the straight, a few things can happen. First off, right where I'm at, you should do some serious braking. You're gonna have to trail brake this corner, but even if you do, expect the potential for heavy oversteer. And I mean, either you're going to understeer into the other lane or very heavily oversteer. So expect to do some problem solving when you come up to that corner, especially if you're going for time and if you're going to be going full pace through it. But it's always nice to slow down here for potential, people coming out of that, from that parking lot, or for cops. So, just kind of be aware there that, while, it might affect your time, you could also, hurt someone or get in a bad accident, because people definitely don't pay attention to their surroundings. So basically, watch out there. So when you come up to this point, you have two choices. You can use the space to the right, like Takumi would, or you can set up and go left, kind of set up into the corner, go left, and then cut a right to sort of ease into the transition, because it's going to be a mess as you come up. And in fact, on the other side, there is no railing, and it's kind of similar to the MR2 killer. You're just going to go off. You can understeer and go off on the other side. So what you got to do is make a choice when you come to this point, and it's not always going to be in your hand whether to go left and cut or cut through the right. It depends more so on how your car position is at that point. I oftentimes, alternate between the two depending on how much grip I have when I'm at that point. If I have lots of grip there, I'm gonna go ahead and set up. If I don't, I'm just gonna try to turn right and cut as much as I can and use the space to my right. So it depends on your speed and your grip, but you will understand what I mean when you get to that point. In the upcoming right corners, the camber and the space to your right is your friend. Use the camber, essentially dip your right wheel into these corners, because the way the road cambers off is going to help propel you through, rather than, create lots of understeer for you when you come out. So trust it and dip in, and I'm going to say this tip maybe 100 times, because there's a lot of right-handers like that coming up, and I use all of them to gain an advantage and clear corners. Can you do it again here? Yes. Is it 100% necessary? No. It depends on your speed, but you don't really have to do it here because there's not a lot of space, and that space to your right will kind of be taken away from you very shortly. So you don't want to ram your right tire into some mud coming up ahead. So you can do it, it's just a bit risky in this case. Should you do it here? 100% yes, every time. Here is our second infamous decreasing radius corner. As you can see, from the previous corner to this one, we've been cornering kind of continuously and in a very steady rate, and all of a sudden the road is going to tighten up on us, and while it tightens up on us, there's going to be a bump there that's going to push our front end off and make us understeer even more. So basically what I'm saying here is you can overbrake it if you want. You don't have to go in full pace because there's a chance you might clip the right side due to understeer. It's almost happened to me before. Trail brake and trail brake hard, because if you don't, you're gonna understeer into the other lane here. What would Takumi do? Camber, gutter drop, do it. And again, lots of space, perfect cambering. Go ahead and dip your steering wheel to the right. Whip it all the way to the right, and then basically it'll propel you all the way through and set you up for the next corner. You can do it again coming up here. But at this point, make sure you keep flat, very wide corner up ahead. Your mind will tell you to brake. You should override that and stay flat. Gutter drop. Gotta drop that shit. You can do it here. It's gonna help you a lot. Brake now. After the bump, it's kind of critical you do that, or your braking is going to be less effective if you brake before the bump. Trail brake slightly and prepare for this corner. You can kind of take this corner flat and you'll be propelled through. Unlike the previous corners, it is more beneficial to actually move to your left and then cut in right. Basically do exactly the opposite thing I did here. This will help you get into the next corner much better. What I did in this case was use the right, as I have a habit of doing, but this can cause understeer when you come out of this corner, or a kind of disturbed balance, and it will affect you on your next corner. So make sure you angle right, angle appropriately, and set up for this corner. Try to stay as flat out as possible here. It's going to be almost impossible to take it all the way flat, but all you need to do here is let off your gas a little bit. No need to brake. You don't really need to brake here. If you set up right, you can easily throttle all the way through, so basically floor it on the gas. But if that's not a choice for you, just let off the gas a little bit. So this is a corner that you're going to be approaching with massive speed. And it doesn't look too threatening, but at the pace and at the speed that you're at, it is. So what I would do is brake hard in the upcoming line here, and then of course trail brake continuously throughout. Basically just a few seconds of trail braking will be fine as long as you brake hard now. And also what I like to do is put my left front tire over the lane divider. While this is not the safest choice, you do have enough visibility to kind of do it, and also it is kind of important because it helps you gain a little bit of extra space in case you do understeer. If this corner doesn't scare you, then you're not doing Redwood quick enough to set a record braking time. It should scare you because braking before the little hill, before the elevation, will shoot your tail end out into the left lane, so you'll get a lot of oversteer. And braking over it reduces the space you have, the available space you have for you in order to slow down. But braking after the elevation is the better choice that you should always take, as long as you progressively get off the brake to prepare for the next corner. Most people know of these surface change here, but this is a very slippery spot, so expect understeer. So yeah, that's it, y'all. Got a little bit bored and decided to talk about Redwood, and I don't know, I'm not a good teacher, but I wanted to share the few things that I know about it and just gonna point out what I do, and give you guys just a few, things to think about when doing it, since I know a lot of people are now showing interest in Redwood and setting down times. So this is definitely for those interested in doing it. I'm not the greatest teacher, nor am I a professional driver, so I can't guarantee that everything I do is correct. However, it has helped me gain good results time-wise on Redwood. So if you guys are interested in this, I'll give you the other way where I feel like I know much more important things going the other way than this way. So yeah, peace out.